Hey folks, this is Chris with Oregon Figs. It's May 27th. I'm just walking through the orchard today, and I'm going to give you some observations of what I've seen in the orchard as far as Breba production and as far as holding Breba goes. Now, I'm in my new section of the orchard here. I'm not going to do the full tour here. I'm just going through and I'm kind of pinpointing Breba that I see. Okay, this is Smith. I got a couple there. I've got a few there. And this is what I'm seeing a lot of in my orchard. These are Breba that are not holding, right? They just come off with your finger. So I've had quite a few drop already. You can see on the bottom at the base of the Smith. So this is not known as a Breba producer. People are starting to say it's a Breba producer now, and I'm not really so certain it's going to be a good Breba producer as you see me taking off figs that are aborting. But we've had a lot of Breba abort so far this year, and that may be a function for me of the age of my trees and the fact that we've had 16 really beautiful warm days that were incredibly dry. Okay, this is Sangue Dolce. I see two Breba holding. I see that one aborting. These are some of my little trees, so these aren't going to have Breba. I don't think any of those do. So we'll go down to this edge of this row and come back up. Actually, no, we'll just go right up to here because I know there's one Breba on my Nero. I've got a tree called Nero that was gifted to me by Bill in Missouri. He goes by Mr. Figs. Super nice guy. We talk a lot on the phone, and it's hard to get us off the phone when we get on. But this is a fig that he discovered at a big box store in Missouri. It was called Nero. I've started doing this on my trees, and I think that's a good practice. But it does have one Breba. So the story on this is that he was not totally impressed by the main crop, but he absolutely loved the Breba crop, and it was prolific. So he sent it out and he said, you know, you should try this in the Pacific Northwest. And thank you, Bill, because I am trying in the Pacific Northwest. At this point, it's way too early to report. And I think people really need to take a chill pill when they're reporting on Breba and give it some time, because you just don't know. Now, this is one I put in the ground for Breba that I don't know if anyone else has done that. This is Tia Pena, and it just went in the ground here probably February or so. There's one Breba, and my thought was that it's a very late fig. You're not going to ripen main crop in ground in Oregon. But if you could get a nice substantial Breba crop off of it and they were really good, it would be worth doing. So this is a gamble, total gamble. And that's kind of fun to do. And I'll give it a few years, and that's what will take. It's not like you can have it 1 year or even 2. You maybe need to give it 4 or 5 years. This one was gifted to me by my buddy Eric up in the Salem area, Grantham's Royal. Bob Duncan has reported up in British Columbia about how great this one is for Breba crop. So I think it's already been reported on. I just want it because I like figs and I like Breba in ground. What do we got going on here? Texas Pea, no Breba. Okay, LSU Tiger was absolutely loaded with Breba. And in this case, a ladybug. But this is what's happened to all of them, right? They're just aborting. So I don't, it's just loaded with them, but they're all aborting. 2 ladybugs, always a good sign. This is Iranian candy. I don't really know what's going on here. There's a Breba. It's a little tree. It's been a bad grower for me, a slow grower. And let's see, it's got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Breba on a small tree. Will they hold? I don't know. not going to make any proclamations, you know, saying something is a good Breba producer for a few years. And you'll see that theme repeated as I grow over the next few years. This was my red Lebanese Baca Valley, which is a huge tree, relatively speaking for its age and ground. And I had to move it because it was too close to other trees, but it's a Mount Etna. There's a Breba, it's holding. And there's a couple more. I'm not really expecting all that much. This is Black Greek Marius. Same kind of thing. I got a couple Breba, one there, one there. Mount Etna. I don't really think the Mount Etnas are going to be prolific Breba producers. The reason I'm growing them in ground is because the main crop, which is early mid, is early enough for us to ripen in ground here, because we get such a late start with our cool evening temperatures and cool daytime temperatures typically, but that hasn't been the case. This is Ischia Black. I have ripened a few Breba in a pot and I absolutely loved it. So I decided, hey, another experiment. It goes in ground and let's see what happens. Once again, I'm in no position at this point to report in on it. So you can see a lot of trees put on the occasional Breba. Here's Col de Dama Blanca Negra with a big Breba and one aborting right next to it. Going down to my next Breba producer. This is one people know about. I got a cutting of this from Philip in Santa Barbara. And this is what I see on a lot of my trees that are known to be good Breba producers. I'm finding some that look like they have a good chance of holding, mixed in with some that are aborting. I just take them off. I just take my finger and push them off. So I'd say maybe 50-50 on this one so far. Maybe not even 50-50. But it's a young tree, hasn't been in the ground that long. And the tree has something going on right there that I don't really like the look of. And I'm gonna use some Ivy Organic paint and wash that with that. Okay, now here's the one that I got really excited about last year, Bifero Zeus. I would say, just at a quick look at it, probably close to half aborting. There's a spider on that one. Sorry, little guy. But I just push them off. But you can see, aborting, aborting, aborting. Yet, holding, right? A couple up here, aborting on the top, over here. So I just push them off with my finger. But still a fairly good amount holding. So, is this aborting because the tree's young? Is this aborting because it's been super hot and dry? I don't know. Is this going to be a pattern going forward? Is it going to hold, you know, 2/3 of its crop and abort the rest? I don't know. Time. That's why you don't want to try to make judgments on trees without giving them significant time in ground. And in a pot, it's always a crapshoot because the moisture in a pot varies. And I believe the Breba like fairly consistent moisture. And that's why if you've got a deep root system, you're getting fairly consistent moisture. This is Longdiute LDA and had a ton of Breba on it, doing the same thing. All right, so this one little area, I've got 2 that have aborted and 1 that's remained. This little tree, this little branch rather, I've got 3 that have aborted, 1 that's remained. This little area, 1 that's aborted, 1 remaining. This area here, 1 that's aborted. 2 that remain, 1 that's aborted. 1 and 1. 1 and 1. 1 aborting, 2 holding. 2 aborting. You can see a significant number of my LDA. And I spoke with Derek, my buddy, who actually grew this tree for me up in Springfield, and his LDA is doing the same thing this year. So is it a function of age of the tree? Is it a function of the dryness? You just have to put the time and legwork in. You can't make, you know, an assumption. If you see a tree that isn't a typical Breba producer producing Breba, and you think it's a significant amount, and a significant amount isn't 4 or 5 or 6, it's a significant amount. Even this I wouldn't call, after I've taken the ones that are all aborting off it, the LDA, I wouldn't say that's a significant amount. Let's talk about a significant amount. Let's talk about a tree that is the king in the Pacific Northwest for a reason, not aborting any figs. How many are on here? Well, I have better things to do with my time than count lots of figs. There's a lot of figs on here. It's just loaded. This is kind of an experimental way of growing it too. I grew it and didn't have very good luck and cut it back to the ground, and a bunch of suckers came up, and I've kept a lot of the suckers. And my plan is that every year I'll go back down lower, probably at the 2-3 foot level, and I'll cut there and stimulate new growth so that I can get the figs at a height that I can easily harvest, right? So I'll have to go through and make some decisions on how I begin pruning this, because this tree is unusual the way it's growing in a bush form, but I think it might be a great way to grow a fig here in Oregon for the Breba. Am I going to get diverted and show you a tree that isn't a Breba producer? Maybe just one. I'll be doing my walkthrough here later today. Brown Sugar Crunch. Beautiful tree. So let's go back to the one that I'm still a little confused about. My gut instinct is, and this is an instinct, is that this is going to be a really good, solid Breba producer. This is by Pharaoh Zeus. I mean, it has a lot of Breba on it, but it's going to take more time. Anyways, that's the report on Breba. If you're reporting on Breba, try to explain when you're reporting. You know, this has happened 2 years. You know, I've had, let's say Smith ripens Breba for you, and it ripens half a dozen, and it does it 2 years in a row. Well, did they actually go all the way and ripen properly, or did it do what my LDA is doing and drop a bunch and then ripen a few? So when you report, you have to report the whole story. You can't just say this is a reliable Breba producer, when honestly it's conjecture. You need to put the time and effort together, especially if you're putting out a lot of videos and you have a lot of people following you. It's almost a responsibility to be patient. Hey, thanks for watching. I'll be doing the orchard tour here today. This is my second video. I don't usually do a lot of videos like this, but I've been away from this property because I've been up at the property in town, and I just finished the fence up there. You people that have been watching my channel know that I just put a fence up, and yeah, I took a bunch of rock out, and I took a big tree out, and took a drill hammer on some walls. I'm getting ready to starting to work on my retaining wall up there. So I've been up there working, and matter of fact, 2 days ago was the first time that I actually watered any of my in-ground trees, and it's been dry enough where I thought they needed it. Okay, we'll see you on the next one. Feel free to subscribe and like. I always appreciate a like. Thanks again. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, and thank you to all the veterans. There are those of us that realize the suffering that you've encountered and what you've put together in your portfolio for helping our country out, and we all appreciate it.